So let's talk about Star Wars Rebels, which is the second animated Star Wars show that is canon. And going into Star Wars Rebels, whenever I first started watching it, and I've seen it all the way through, going into it first, I thought this will be fun. It'll be interesting. I didn't watch the Clone Wars during like whatever I started watching this first, and then I watched the Clone Wars in quick succession before Rebels ended. So in terms of the two TV shows, I think that I don't know which one I choose more. I bet maybe Clone Wars just by a smidge, just because Clone Wars has characters that are already established and are elaborated so well into the world, and the lore of the Clone Wars is really cool. But Rebels to me is still a really really good and really solid show. It's one that I do really really enjoy. I thought all of these characters are incredibly likable, all fun, all interesting. Ezra is our lead pretty much, and he starts to learn that he's a Jedi, and I like the idea that he and his friend Kanan start training, and he basically learns how to become a Jedi, but we don't get much about it in a way. We're like he's just trying to figure himself out, like what's he going to be, and he has complications with that, with the dark side, with Darth Maul, who returns in this show, and it's awesome that he's back in this one. Um, and it's not just about Ezra either. It's about all these different ragtag group of characters: Kanan, Zeb, Sabine, Hera, Chopper. They're all really really fun and all great characters. They have different dynamics to each other. They all don't feel the same, and I really like that. I really like that these characters give off such sincerity to each other. Like it's like in all the other Star Wars media. Like I feel like these characters are really good characters that belong in this universe. These are characters that give off a lot of sincerity, a lot of likeness to them, and their struggle in this time period where it's before Rogue One, but it's after Revenge of the Sith. So it's I don't know. I think it was like maybe 10 years or so before A New Hope. If I'm getting that right, I think. But I still think that this show just to me really gives it, like Clone Wars, it gives off a lot of the lore of this world, and it does elaborate on characters that are established in the Clone Wars and in the movies that are in this and see their end in some ways. And I like that. I like that these characters are further elaborated. I liked how Ahsoka was back in the show. Not a lot, but whenever she's in the show, she's really fantastic. There's an episode at the end of season 2 where it's her versus Vader, and that in itself is a great moment, a great episode. That's one of my favorite episodes of this whole show. Is that episode where she fights Vader, and then Maul and Kanan and Ezra are fighting and blinds Kanan, and Maul's trying to get the holocron. That is one of the coolest episodes because of all of those things I mentioned. The fight between both of these groups of characters. With Ahsoka, it's fantastic because in this episode, like if you've seen Clone Wars, if you've seen her complete story in Clone Wars, how she disappeared or she ran away, and then she's not explained where she went after during Revenge of the Sith whenever the Jedi Purge happened. And I love how she is brought back into this show, and I love the fight with her and Vader because you see. I love how Vader really doesn't have many people that he cares for anymore that aren't gone. He hasn't met Obi-Wan again in this time frame yet, but he re-meets Ahsoka. And I really love their interaction because whenever they meet, they fight, and then Ahsoka literally uses her lightsaber and cuts off part of his mask, and you see his dark eye underneath. And it does a thing where it distorts his voice into regular Anakin. And I really thought that emotionally that was so strong and so cool that these characters from the last show in this show are elaborated on and feel like they've got a great way of kind of ending their story in a way. Like it's Ahsoka doesn't die then, but I like that it felt like they gave a lot of resolution to Vader and Ahsoka and how they've that struggle that Ahsoka's been living through, and that struggle that Vader not realizing somebody who he was such good had a gigantic relationship with, it was still alive. And I think that they pulled that off really well with these two characters, bringing them back. And I really liked, just like I said, the main characters all have great interactions. They're all fun. They're all unique. But the show just does a good job of further elaborating on the world of Star Wars on in this time period with these characters. They do a great job with that, and do a great job with how you get different big bads in this one. You get Admiral Thrawn at the end of the show, or pretty close. Who Thrawn was in the EU, but I think they made him canon now, but with a different kind of book. And I thought he was a cool villain. I thought he was a cool villain with a different identity to the other Star Wars villains. Like, he gave a lot of presence to him. I like that. I like that Thrawn was like that. And I liked how in the end, he and Ezra just didn't... They literally could still be alive wherever they are. And I wonder if that show Resistance that's coming out, Star Wars Resistance, the next animated show, I wonder if that'll show them in the next show and see if they where we could find them next, because they left that open-ended, and I did like that, but I just wish that we would have gotten a resolution. But I feel like we probably will, because Dave Filoni, who did this, is doing the next one, which is perfectly fine. And I love how we're getting 3 different TV shows based on 3 different generations: Clone Wars, then Rebels, then this Resistance will be I think before Force Awakens, I think, or during. I think it's before, though. But I think that it's really cool just seeing these shows elaborating so much on these times before and after the generations that we don't see much of. That's really cool. And I think this just did a fantastic job with all the characters, with all of the establishing more of this universe, establishing characters that have been either gone and have reappeared, or establishing just showing the sidelines of something going on in a bigger picture. And I really, really love this show. I thought it was really great, just like Clone Wars. I feel like I feel like Clone Wars is the better one of the two for me, but this one is still very, very close. I think it's just because it's shorter. It didn't give, it gave enough for these characters, but I feel like it was just a tad under because it's a little shorter. So overall, I thought that this still was immensely entertaining, a great Star Wars product, one that I really enjoyed, and I can't wait to watch Resistance whenever that comes out next.